My name is Eric McLeod.
And I'm Chris Holden.
And you are listening to LowBlowRadio podcast, the blow-by-blow of AEW's All Out. It was a long, big, awesome show, and we weren't able to do our typical blow-by-blow strictly right after because, hey, things were getting kind of late. So we're bringing this to you from Sunday morning. Hopefully you hear this later Sunday or Monday in podcast form and on YouTube. But yes, we're covering the show that was Saturday, September 5th, 2020, All Out from AEW. Chris, man, what a show.
What a show. We're going to try to keep this low blow, the blow-by-blow, at least a little bit shorter than All Out itself was. We'll try.
Yeah, we'll do our best.
We want to get everything in and talk about all the main points. So first thing I want to mention is I've got this new jar. It's not a swear jar. This is my again jar. Whenever I say again and I repeat myself, I have to put $1 in the jar. And then in a couple weeks, we'll buy ourselves a fucking house. All right? So that's going to be my plan, to concise myself up.
Fair enough.
Pac-Man, I'm the bad lighting.
There we go. We're dealing with different lighting, too, here in the morning. It's all kind of different situation here in the Low Blow podcast studio.
The sun's out.
Sun's out, so it's a different setup. But, hey, yes, let's keep this rolling and jump right into things. Chris, did you catch the buy-in?
I didn't catch the buy-in. I'll lie a little bit. I was listening to the buy-in. I didn't watch the buy-in, but I heard what was going on, but I wasn't. I had enough wrestling coming up for the evening, so I had other stuff I was doing while it was on in the background, but it sounded like a real sales pitch for the show, and then they ran those the match, Private Party, who they fight.
Yeah, there was two matchups. There was the I'll do a quick little sort of rapid style rundown of the two of them. If you missed them there, but they were sort of a different kind of style. I think showcasing in a different way, but obviously sort of no real build for these matchups because I think initially they wanted to go with the Britt Baker Big Swole match in this slot, probably as well as the Private Party match more than likely, and things getting shifted around and that kind of thing. Another match got thrown on the card, and the first match was Joey Janela taking on Serpentico, who has become a more familiar name seen on Dynamite, more familiar from Dark. But this was a great showing for Serpentico, actually. They ended up having a fairly decent timed match. At first, I thought it was just going to be a kind of typical Dark squash match from Joey Janela, but he started off hot coming at him, but this sort of teaming of what's his name, Luther, with Serpentico is sort of working more and more together. They've teamed up and got some wins on Dark, and he was in his corner in this matchup and paid dividends to sort of add a distraction to allow Joey to get the or to cause the distraction on Joey, allow the advantage for Serpentico, and yeah, he was able to actually get quite a bit of offense here in on Joey. Joey did a good job to put him over, and he didn't think he was going to win by any means, but certainly elevated Serpentico to a different level here.
That seems to be Janela's role to a degree, right? I mean, he get the wins that he has to get over guys he should, but make him look good in the process, and then do the job for guys that he should be doing the job for, and make him look good in the process. He's great. A perfect mid-carder for this for AEW, and he's really good at it.
No, yeah, I think that just helped to elevate Serpentico to maybe that next sort of level of Dark enhancement talent, guys. So no, hit a really good Death Valley Driver as well as a Blue Thunder Bomb for some close calls there on Serpentico, and he just kind of kept kicking out of the sort of typical finishes you kept seeing from Janela. Eventually, Luther sort of interfering in the match was their comeuppance because Sonny Kiss was able to take him out. And I think it was, the big elbow drop Macho Man style that Janela was able to get the finish there. I'm going to say that was really just a nice showing for Serpentico, especially in a highlighted type thing as the buy-in, not just in a Dark match. So, the next one was Private Party taking on Dark Order members 3 and 4. So that's Silver and Reynolds. And this was, not necessarily your typical Private Party match, more so you're elevating the Dark Order so much right now. And it was really showing how much they are studying their opponents and like knowing their moves and how to counter them or use them against them and stuff like that. They had a lot of good, or sort of like baiting them into the typical private party type setups, and then switching off, doing good sort of corner tactics. I really enjoyed they went for their sort of silly string maneuver where he rolls off the other guy's back, and Silver had timed it so perfect that as soon as he rolled onto his back, he hit him with a huge coup de grace style, like double stomp right to the stomach, and the timing was just very nice. And then they had a great combo for a near fall that was like 4 or 5 moves all thrown together that just looked really, really strong for the Dark Order guys. Eventually, they just sort of weren't able to quite get enough over on Private Party. They hit the gin and juice to get the big finish there and get the win in a solid 10-minute match, but definitely elevated the level and hopefully got the crowd kind of hyped up, even though you couldn't really hear them. I wish they were sort of mic'd a little more tonight for as many people as you kind of saw there. But yeah, I think that was certainly what this match was there to do, get the crowd pretty amped up. But yeah, that was about it for the buy-in.
Just speaking on the crowd, there were parts of the night where I thought it sounded a bit too quiet for the number of people that we knew we'd seen in the audience. So maybe they have dipped off that mic sound a bit, because it sounded like for a few weeks they were really amping those guys. And they definitely had a mic close to Vicky they removed last night, because I didn't hear her, but I sure saw her. So, yeah. I didn't mind it, though. I prefer this to the sweetened 2K WWE sound that we get throughout the repeated loop through the whole show.
No, so, I think it's just going to be finding some kind of happy medium, because, I mean, yeah, obviously you could hear them. They mic'd them for, I mean, we'll get to it way later, but Jericho's entrance and stuff like that, right? Hearing them sing along and stuff like that, you could hear the crowd. So, I mean, sometimes they just weren't there when you kind of needed them. But jumping into the main card, I'm assuming you were watching by this point.
I tuned in, turned off my other shit as soon as the Schooner Boomer JR's music hit and he came walking down to the ring. So once he joined the team, that's when I flipped over for real. Plus, I got to make sure the feed's going to work, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Give it a little bit of time to set up. And yes, we kicked off the match.
So yes, joined in then for the first match.
Yeah.
Hang on. I'm getting a message. I'm sorry. I'm getting a message on screen saying my internet connection is unstable.
Oh,
so
no.
I think maybe we're having a bit of a collision in our... I think we're good. Are we good now?
I think we're good. I think I see you there. We're good to go. All right.
All right.
Let's hold on to things while we can, unless we have to pause. We'll see. The kickoff here, not what normally you would expect, maybe a big hot matchup, but instead they kicked off with the pre-taped, what would you call it, sort of cinematic match that they were advertising.
Cinematic-y, right?
Yeah, cinematic-y style between Britt Baker and Big Swole, the sort of climactic finish to their feud as Big Swole chose her stipulation to go fight Britt Baker at her workplace. So yes, they set this up that that's where they were going to kick the night off at, with the camera crew already with Big Swole pulling up to Britt Baker's dentistry office.
I think we were told it was pre-recorded, so we knew it was, or we thought it was going to be a cinematic-y style match. I thought this was a lot less cinematic style and a lot more just as if they were in the backstage area having a Falls Count Anywhere match. It didn't feel like a forced movie cinematic match. And I really enjoyed it. I thought the comedy sides were great. Big Swole, we've seen her in the ring. She will get better. She's not awful. She's not Bella Twins awful, but she's got some way to grow, right? And I think this was a perfect setting for her to be able to do the brawly stuff that she does well and look good doing it. Britt looked good. It was entertaining. I loved the needle spot.
Yeah, no, I think they did just enough with what they could with the scenery and those kind of things. And I think you're right with this feeling a lot less like a cinematic match. And I think the commentary led a lot to that. It felt more like just a hardcore match, them telling you where they are, where the setting is, what's sort of happening, but not too much overlay, just sort of a little bit of a call and response, like as if they're watching it along with you, right? So, and
I enjoyed it as the opener, and I definitely appreciated that they moved it to the main card versus the pre-show.
I think it elevated it for sure. Yeah. So I think that certainly helps. So not your sort of typical one, and I think the commentary certainly helped it there. But we a lot of the story in this was certainly the attacks on Reba as she was trying to help Britt Baker through out all these attacks. It started with Big Swole coming into the front desk and Reba hiding behind a mask, trying to act as the receptionist to take appointments there, as clearly the office is closed and no one else is there. But the only person they seem to be expecting is Big Swole. So he tries to warn Britt Baker, but not in enough time before she gets walloped with I think it was just the chart that. Oh, that was Britt after, right? The diploma.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Sorry,
Reba got the chart to the face, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, she hit it with the chart.
The Swole goes into the back rooms. She starts trying to track down and hunt her prey, and she opens up a cupboard full of chattering teeth, the wind-up kind. I thought that was a nice touch. And that she's saying, "You're not going to catch you in a distraction like this." She was distracted long enough for Britt Baker to smash the diploma over the back of her head, and the match got going with the bell ring.
Yeah. The official bell ring at this point, with the referee kind of following Big Swole, so you knew there was going to be obviously a pinfall or a submission or some type of finish you were going to get here. It wasn't just going to be a fight and then back to the ring. But a lot of the sort of typical brawl stuff, which is all you can really do sometimes in this sort of setting, like brawl between sort of setups and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was that initial hit over the head. They kind of brawled down the hallway. Is that when she hit her with and when they got outside, right? So they were brawling down the hallway. Britt tries to escape, yelling to Reba to get out of there. Oh yeah, Reba causing some more interference. When
Reba made the water pick attack in there.
That's up right.
Splashes Swole in the face with the water thing that you'd clean teeth with, because it was supposed to be devastating. Swole once again decks Reba. You got Britt Baker trying to escape, screaming out, "Run, Reba, run!" Just awesome.
You can tell they had certainly orchestrated enough together to keep the kind of comedy going and keep Big Swole busy. It wasn't just going to be her and Britt constantly brawling, so I think they used her just enough. Britt was able to escape outside, still screaming for Reba to run as some kind of a distraction. You see the Rolls Royce parked outside. Big Swole is able to come out. Just outside the door, the two of them start brawling again, start climbing on top of the Rolls Royce. She hits her with a huge or she's saying she's going to start throwing her in the dumpster right next to it. Britt's able to reverse hit the DDT as Reba starts pulling on her leg. Britt starts fending the two of them off. You think this is going to be more of a handicap style match, but she pretty much puts Reba out until later on at this point when Big Swole tosses Reba into the dumpster.
I did it was just before that, and Reba screaming out, "I got it!" And she don't got it.
She don't got
flattened
it.
Instead. The DDT was a nice spot. Before, she was Swole trying to fight her way out of the dumpster dump when Reba got tossed. She hands out the crutch, though, at that point to Dr. Baker, because they figured one of them must be going in the dumpster, so they pre-position their crutch inside.
Yeah.
Ends up back into the thing by the sink, slams her into the sink, and Baker comes up screaming, "Oh, my nose, I just got that fixed." It was so funny. The nice swing and neck breaker for a 2 count, kicks out of the hair pull. She starts screaming at her Big Swole, Reba Baker screaming at Big Swole, "You're in my house. This is my world. I'm a dentist." Fucking great. Another near fall. We had a big super kick there from Baker as well. And then the weapons came out. I wrote down right at the beginning who's getting gassed. You knew that it was going to end with a gassy finish. The drill bit. I've never seen a dentist use a drill like that in my fucking dentist office.
I certainly hope not. When I'm, going out with the gas or getting put out, is that what the jewels really are? Is that what they're actually busted out? I'm getting pretty scared going to the dentist this week when I have my appointment. But yes, she busted out a real hand drill coming right down at Big Swole, looking to take some teeth out here. Ends up going into the cushion as Big Swole kind of reverses, gets out of it. Britt was able to get some advantage as Reba came in with what looked like a Novocaine needle as they were ready to stab that into Big Swole to slow her down in some way, and obviously she was able to reverse that, and man, Britt Baker takes it right in the leg and gives herself a good old-fashioned dead leg, and the advantage goes to Big Swole. At this point, she lays her down in the chair, grabs the face mask for the gas, puts it on her, and puts Britt Baker.
She took Rebout first. She took Rebout first with the second diploma, and the punch through the second diploma and smashed her down. And then, gassed out Baker for the finish.
I think it was even the dirty dancing through the diploma. It was nasty looking. Yeah, they had some real good shatter effects there with the fake glass. It looked really good.
It was really fun match, though, and I honestly thought it was the best use you could have gotten out of Big Swole at this point, and really good use in the future. Maybe a little bit as well. Britt Baker might not be 100% ready to get back in ring and fully compete yet because of the facial stuff. So this was a perfect way to continue or finish this feud, whatever you want to do going forward. I can't imagine Britt's going to be okay with losing at her dentist's office. So this probably sets up a rematch in the ring down the road.
I would say
another
so
month
for sure.
or so down the road, she'll be another month or so better. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good way to have controlled violence in that sense, that they are able to control the takes, the retakes, all the filming, the timing. No one has to stress out about a whole match and that kind of stuff in this format, and it worked really well. They were able to, the commentary got it over as if it was happening live, in a sense, to them, that they were just sort of cutting to this moment in time as it happened. And what a kickoff here for All Out, and a big win there for Big Swole as she KO'd Britt Baker. The next match that we got was the actual sort of in-ring competition, and a huge kickoff, which you would certainly expect from AEW at this point, as the Young Bucks took on the Jurassic Express. Man, this certainly set the bar for the night, right?
Yeah, you're sitting backstage as FTR or Kenny and Hangman, and you're thinking, wow, this is a hell of a tag team match we've got to follow. We knew right away it was going to be two different styles of matches. This one was always going to be this fast, frantic pace. We're going to get full-on Bucks action, and we did. Luchasaurus doing all of his stuff. Jungle Boy was like a fucking little ping pong ball in a tiny room and just flying all over the place. It was, a lot of action. Tried to keep up with my notes. My hand was cramped by the end of this one. That's what set me up for the night of 113 pages of notes taken, and you're trying to scribble it all down while you're watching the screen. So I probably missed 6 or 7 tags. Who knows what?
Like I say, I do my best to kind of keep up with things or catch the best of the best to keep myself remembering what kind of happened here in my notes. But you're certainly sort of caught up in the action here. And the story of this early on was just how good Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, the Jurassic Express, just looked. They were very, very aggressive, very on point with their tags early on. They were able to just sort of use that as some kind of an advantage over Nick and Matt, where Nick and Matt were on this very sort of serious streak right now. They're fighting a slightly different style. They were not looking to shake hands, not looking to play this as friends at all. They were certainly more driven for the win, and they definitely had to try to earn it here against Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy.
It felt like they have every right, the Jurassic Express have every right to state the claim that they were just as important to get to All Out and have this match and have one on Dynamite as the Bucks were. Yeah. Right? There was these were two even teams. This wasn't the Bucks beating up on the juniors, the underdogs. This was a really good match. And you're supposed to see the Express as the underdogs in it, but they're getting stronger and stronger, getting more and more momentum all the time. I think this positioned them and left them positioned really nicely in the division overall.
And it showed that, like, because they were looking so good and so aggressive, it had to bring out this different, more aggressive, cockier style from the Young Bucks as well, to apply more offense to them, to show that they can't just kind of put them away as they have some of the other tag teams here in AEW. So, I'm not even sure where to jump in with the blow-by-blow aspects of it, because it was so hard to catch it match to match, but like sort of some more highlighting moments that I can think of. I really enjoyed the kind of locomotion back suplexes he got from Matt that eventually teetered all the way to the outside. This match definitely didn't have momentum going either way, but that was sort of the most the Bucks were kind of getting to sort of realize they needed to separate Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy that they were getting a lot of hot tags, using the corner a lot to keep the Young Bucks away from each other. So they kind of use their expertise to sort of try to eliminate Jungle Boy from the competition altogether, thereby, doing a lot of big back suplexes, taking him up over top of the ropes, which looked really nasty as they hit to the bottom, and then up again over the barricade, which was just sort of the first of the nasty spots we saw tonight.
I honestly wasn't sure with the first the Northern Light suplex chain. The third one got tangled in the ropes, and I wasn't sure that was planned or if that was supposed to continue on, but they made good of it and kept it going on the outside, toss him over the railing. Yeah, just trying to seem as if you eliminate Jungle Boy from the match. They had a bit of a slowdown period there as Jungle Boy was blocked from tagging out. You could tell they're built to the first hot tag of getting Jungle Boy over to Luchasaurus. Did some headlock moves, some running knee strikes, quick tags, violent, aggressive, and intense Young Bucks. Like, that was my big takeaway from that opening 10 minutes of the match. They were cutting off the ring so well. And yeah, when they weren't blocking Jungle Boy from making the tag, it was the other move of run over and knock Luchasaurus off of the apron, so he wasn't there to make the tag. So perfect tag team stuff that you used to see. Again, there's my first dollar into the again jar. It's kind of, in my opinion, Healy tactics. It's smart tag team wrestling, but it's the stuff you used to see from the bad guys. I don't think it's because the Bucks want to be bad guys. I think it's that they want to be successful right now and look like they're putting every effort in. Yeah. And again, building that thing. There's a second one. Building that thing where they have to be doing this in this match. Like we said, builds up the Jurassic Express as much as it builds up the Bucks.
No, for sure. I think when you were talking about that timing stuff and picking their moments and their timing there, where again, I really like that spot where Matt, or I think it was Nick, had Jungle Boy had sort of gotten a little bit of heat in, trying to get to Luchasaurus, and he had the option to either try to stop Jungle Boy from getting the tag, or he instead knocks Luchasaurus right off the apron as soon as he's about to hit the tag with the huge super kick. The timing of that was fantastic and showed that they are just trying to think that next step ahead. Luchasaurus was able to eventually get the hot tag in, and man, did he ever have a great comeback against the Bucks there. Holy cow, with the using them against each other to hit the back moonsaults and the near falls from the kicks and stuff like that. He looked, just like quite the beast in this matchup against the Young Bucks.
Even the headbutt onto Matt looked great. Yeah. Matt jumped after the standing moonsault. Nick made the save, nails him with the headbutt. Jungle Boy comes back in, springboards onto one of the Bucks. Luchasaurus plunges off the top rope into the turnbuckles, onto the Bucks on the outside. He moves around like he's Marco Stunt, but he's 4 or 5 times the size of the little bastard. So it's impressive to watch. And I really, really am enjoying Luchasaurus. I'm enjoying him more than Jungle Boy. And I think originally Jungle Boy was the focus of this act because he was Luke Perry's kid. Right. And that's been able to make this shift where now we're less focused on that, more focused on this great tag team and the great work in it. Good blind tags.
So that it can work both ways. Not one of them has to get the hot tag heat or the other way around, or he has to just do the monster stuff. He can do it both ways there, right? Like sometimes they save Luchasaurus to all the way to the end, but he happened to come in really early on in this, and they had to get it kind of messed with Matt and Nick and had to get use some of their expertise to sort of gain the momentum here. So I think it was a nice kind of showing for them and got a different side out of the Bucks, and that helped elevate both guys to the next sort of level here.
Jungle Boy missed an apron Rana. Nick pulled off a pullover destroyer on Luchasaurus.
Yes,
while Matt, meanwhile, was hunting Marco Stunt on the outside, nails him with a super kick. Matt goes back to Jungle Boy, picks him up on his shoulders. Nick comes around to try to kick him. I guess he did get the kick on that point. Matt tags in and goes up top, goes a 180 onto Jungle Boy on Nick's, who's lied out on Nick's knees, but just get a 2 count on that. That was the start of the near falls. I thought this match was over 30 times before it ended, and both ways as well.
Yeah, they hit that really awesome kind of assisted PK, like when he was on the outside, that sort of, you're dead,
Yeah.
when he's got him up on the shoulders, taking out Jungle Boy really hard there, bringing him in, doing the assisted senton there for some really, really close near falls. You kind of thought they were going to put him away there, but not quite enough. Luchasaurus got in, hit that big choke slam, and then the Poison Rana after that, which was just like so nasty. They hit their extinction finish, and you thought, wow, oh my gosh, they're going to pull out something really close here, and one of the Bucks was able to stop the finish. But
Matt made the save there. I thought that was it. That when they hit the extinction level event, I'm like, my God, it's the private party moment again. And it's these guys said, wow, they're going to lose, and that's going to be their friction. But no, he kicked out, or Matt made the save. Jungle Boy tossed Matt out, but then Jungle Boy gets tossed out. Luchasaurus dives over the railing onto Matt Jackson.
Yeah.
Nick hit the super kick on Jungle Boy for a 2. Then they hit the super kick party on Jungle Boy for just the 2. And he kicks out again. I thought that was... and then we had the BT trigger at the end. But what, I mean, a beautiful opener.
Yeah.
Just fantastic action, back and forth, non-stop for that whole opening 50 minutes. AEW, as we've said before, they love to open with these hot tag matches and action-paced and action-packed, get a nice fast pace to the start of the night, get the fans involved quickly. And
for
this
sure.
certainly did all of that. I'm sure if they'd have kept Swole and Baker on the pre-show, this would have been the opener. I still think this was kind of the real opener. So
yeah, in a different sense, you're real sort of in front of the crowd, real wrestling, that kind of thing, and definitely set the tone here, especially for tag team wrestling and what you were sort of expecting here. And yeah, great showing for the Bucks, looking just having to elevate themselves just that little bit more, and Jungle Boy himself too, having kicking out of those super kicks, them having to lay it in even heavier, and then just elevating how devastating that BTE trigger is. And man, Jungle Boy took it like a $1,000,000 there and looked nasty as hell, and definitely put him away. So great matchup. And then yeah, a great way to sort of kick things off. And then now this is where things sort of, we had a lot of waves tonight, or last night, I would say. And this maybe is where the next sort of wave came in the night. So the next matchup was the Casino Battle Royal that was announced to once again be taking place here at All Out. They sort of explained the rules once again, where the 20 men that have been announced will be delegated to 4 different groups of 5. They'll come out every 3 minutes, and at any time people can be thrown over the top rope. And instead this time it's just a winner at the end. I believe the first time they did this, it came down to just a match between the last 2. No, maybe that was a different time. I guess they've just done these Battle Royal. It's a little bit confusing. I get where they're trying to do it as close to a Royal Rumble as you can, but it's a bit of a clusterfuck.
Royal Rumble meets War Games. So that in the sense of more than one person, or Elimination Chamber in these timed entries, but it's more than one person. I quite like the concept, but when you throw the rules up and you hear Justin Roberts in the background start explaining it, and then JR starts explaining it slightly differently at the same time, it's very fucking confusing.
Yeah.
And it's really not. It's real simple.
Yeah.
Because it's 4 groups. I think it might make it a little more obvious, but take away some of the mystique. If, like Elimination Chamber or War Games, you have the people that are going to be in that group are right there in like paddocks at ringside, and they're released into the ring. So you just know here are 4 groups.
Yeah,
they will open a door and they will get in the ring, and that's it. Simple, right? But I do like the idea because it manages to kept the big guys away from each other. Right? Mm-hmm. Like your Cajun, your Archer, and all those guys were kept away from each other. Keeps the ring from getting so full. The beginning of a Battle Royal is always fucking messy to try to watch.
Oh, yeah.
I managed to keep tabs on all the order of exit as they all happened last night. Who eliminated who?
No, I think it helps with the pacing for sure in this kind of setup, and allows people to get their spots in and not feel too overwhelmed. They can get a few eliminations in before they bring in the next kind of batch of guys. It's just going to take a little bit of working and to do it, to kind of get it to be its sort of perfect balance. But I think
it kept it way more interesting than a typical Battle Royal. And I'll eat shit from what I was saying about this match for the last couple of weeks, where they've done nothing for me on the build of this. By the end of it, I love the Battle Royal.
Right.
So, like, the way it was pulled off in the final act of this, and the actual presentation of the match, so much better than the build. And for me, a lot of that was you kept the main players apart until it mattered.
Yeah.
And then it became intriguing when Cage and Archer bounced off each other and stuff, right? I really liked it.
It became harder and harder to predict, right? Which is good. And you don't want to just know, like we were saying before, with the last Battle Royal, they've done other ones since, but the most like glorified casino Battle Royal they've had before this was the one where Hangman got the big shot. And you just sort of knew going in. You're like, as close as some of these other guys are going to get, it seems like they're going this direction. But going into this one, you didn't really kind of know where they could go. And with that surprise entry, you weren't really sure how things could turn out here. So we kicked off the first kind of group.
We'll get to the surprise entry.
Yeah, I was going to say when we get there. I'm going to say not everything's perfect here, but we'll get to there when we do. We kicked off the first group was Trent from the Best Friends with Christopher Daniels, as well as Jake Hager from the Inner Circle, The Blade from Butcher and the Blade, and Ray Phoenix, who are also on a sort of gang team together right now. And it was nice to just sort of have these 5 guys in there for 3 minutes, let them all kind of get their spots off. With 5 people, you have a little bit of odd pairings, but they seem to do good to have more heels than faces. So you didn't have to have a lot of the faces teaming up, which never makes sense, but heels teaming up to sort of take out faces makes a little bit more sense. But it was your typical Battle Royal stuff here, but some good kind of spots early on.
It was a great DDT from Phoenix onto Trent. I like that. Jake Hager looked really tough. And you're right. I enjoyed the interplay with him and Eddie Kingston's guys because they're bad guys. So we'll team together to beat up Trent and Daniels for a bit because we hate them. They're good guys. So I like that. It was a great slam from Hager on Daniels in the corner. I thought he came out of this as one of the better looking guys. He's been relegated so much to just being Jericho's bitch and the big guy. I liked his promo before it, and I thought this actually made him look like he is a wrestler in AEW, and he's quite a good one.
Yeah, for sure. We can get to the elimination for it later, but I think it set up a great sort of next program for him and that person as well. So the next grouping after the 3 minutes there was Kazarian, Will Hobbs, who if you watch Dark, you're more familiar with. I believe he had a enhancement match on Dark as well somewhat recently, but again, people are more familiar with him from Dark, but a very big presence there. Chuck from the Best Friends, and then Santana and Ortiz. Again, the heels obviously having the more numbers here, so they're able to dominate. Things kind of scattered to the outside as Santana and Ortiz definitely were delegating their attacks to the Best Friends at this point.
They came in and attacked Chuck with the baton they had before Chuck managed to get into the ring either. So I like the way that they, again, in the introduction stuff, $3 in the tin. Kazarian comes down, immediately runs in to help Christopher Daniels. Chucky comes in and immediately tries to run in to help Trent out. It's not his fault. He didn't see Santana and Ortiz coming this time. Much more logical than the attack on Wednesday when he knew where they were and was supposed to be the sneaky guy and wound up on his ass. But still, Eddie's boys were attacking Hobbs. That was good. Blade was the first elimination. Actually, Hobbs took him out. And then Christopher Daniels was eliminated by Jake Hager. He was the second man down. The 3 Inner Circle guys were beating up the Best Friends. Ortiz was loudly proclaiming that they're the best several times for the top rope. Filled out the end of that 3 minute span. And then we got group number 3.
Yes.
Billy Gunn. Finally, Billy Gunn's in the Rumble.
Billy Gunn. Just Billy representing the Gun Club.
Sorry, yes, just Billy, my bad. They can't sue us, can they?
You got to get 2 names very specific here. You had to get Billy representing the Gun Club and no longer Pentagon Jr. back to Penta Zero M. I'm not sure what happened with if there's
during
a rights
this week,
thing again there, but
during this week they made the switch. It was announced that his name was this now. I'm just going to call him Penta, okay?
That's fair.
Because
that whatever's easiest to remember. So yes, Billy from the Gun Club, Penta L0M, or just Penta, what Chris will call him. Ricky Starks and Cage from Team Taz, which seemed to definitely elevate even more and more heels in here. But then they were surprised by the last man, Darby Allin.
It made Taz excited to see his boys come down. Yeah, we forgot to mention we got Taz on. It's Taz on commentary for this match as well.
Yes, just for this match, which was interesting.
And I thought it worked. He only had one or two of his typical Taz moments. For the most part, he was solid. And I really enjoyed the way that he wasn't Bobby Heenan called in the 92 Rumble, where every single Flair spot he's on the edge of his seat crying. Yeah. He called the match with a vague thing that he's the manager of a couple guys, but it wasn't his be-all, end-all. He was a commentator first and foremost.
Well, for sure. And I think this is something that I'm thinking of that's kind of outside of this, but it brings up the topic here that as much as I enjoy the commentary team in AEW, I do find, like, when we talk about the sort of perfect setup, is when Taz is that third man. I think Shivani as your sort of baseline happy face guy. You got the play-by-play stuff from Excalibur, and then the subtle heel stuff. Someone has to be giving the heel perspective. If everything is just baseline, it sometimes feels a little, too much baby-faced, right? Like sometimes I don't like full on Michael Cole, I hate every face and like I'm going to annoy you, but a little bit of like he only cheered for the heels. It was subtle, but even once his guys were out, he's like, well, I like this guy then, or I want this guy to win. The same little things that Bobby used to do where he didn't like the good guys and he gave you a reason not to, or a reason he didn't, right? So sometimes I feel like they're missing that.
I always thought Jesse Ventura was very good at that role.
Absolutely.
Because if someone was wrestling well and doing good moves and holds, he said it. And if someone that was supposed to be a good guy cheated or did a heel move, he was the first to point it out to McMahon. Chico's using the ropes and he's not supposed to. Like that's why I really like Ventura. So I think you're right, man.
It's a balance, right? And I think that's where Taz fits very, very well right now in the commentary team because they don't have anyone else in that slot. So I felt like sometimes that's missing, and it was a nice addition here in this matchup. But moving back to the matchup here, we move to the next group and the final group.
Oh, hang on. We had eliminations in this match.
We did. Sorry, you got more of that stuff. I pretty much just wrote the groups down. So
right. Brian Cage immediately tosses Billy from the ring. That was like within seconds he got him out. But then he took the skateboard to the face, and he hit a Canadian Darby Allin. Sorry, hit the skateboard to Brian's face and hit a Canadian Destroyer on Starks, which was flash out of nowhere. And then Darby turned around and dumped out Rey Fenix. So there were 4 gone. The best friends were hugging. Chucky T got tossed out because he was too busy hugging. So there were 5 men down.
Yep.
The Inner Circle beating on Kazarian. Cage was mauling Pence in the corner and Willie Mack at that point. And then we had Group 4 come down.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So much going on in a big battle royal here. So thank you for filling in the spots there. Group 4 and the final group of 5 came out here with Shawn Spears, Eddie Kingston, The Butcher, Sonny Kiss, and the Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer. So you kind of got the first 4 coming out and then Lance at the very end there. But one of the biggest things from this grouping that I remember noticing was, man, Sonny Kiss got that huge elimination on Jake Hager. That was crazy. Yep.
Sonny Kiss tosses Jake Hager, and we smell a feud coming, right?
I think so, and that could be very interesting. I think for both those guys, elevating for sure for Sonny. So
definitely. Huge. Brian Cage dumped Sonny out right away, and that's when Hager went after Kiss on the floor for taking him out. Yeah. Santana was taken out by Trent. Trent was dumped. Somebody's name begins with an A. Oh, it's Archer. Lance Archer dumped out Trent and now got his first elimination. Archer turned right around after that and took out Ortiz for the 10th man gone. And then we got the Joker.
Yes.
If Matt Sydal, right, could redo anything in the last 24 hours, what do you think he'd do different?
Maybe just obviously be the spot in the corner, right? Or bring a towel with them, wipe your shoes down. I don't know.
Non-slip shoes, perhaps?
Yeah, maybe something different. I just was it not
an
literally
anti-concussable head?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, was it not literally just the last podcast that we were talking about timing and like how good people are, and you were talking about how people say that Randy's so good at his RKO, but you got to give it to the other guy. And if I'm not mistaken, Matt Sydal used to be Evan Bourne, right? Like in WWE. Okay, and you said just how great his timing was, and I was like, well, man, something maybe has slipped a little bit for poor Matt Sydal. But yes, the surprise.
Irony's so bitter you can taste it. And he Matt Sydal comes down to the ring for his big debut, lands a great knee, jumps up onto the top rope, and promptly tried to break his own fucking neck with a 360 splash.
Yeah.
You saw it happen just as his foot left the rope. It was his right foot slipped.
Yeah.
And he was already in the middle of disembarking from the jump. So he had no option but to go for it. And he did not stick the landing.
No, this was like for something that's so elevated with a big surprise entrance, the Joker, the hey, it's Matt Sydal here in AEW, all this kind of stuff, and to hit that move and then get up there and fall directly on your head, you're just like you had said, if you were looking to do one thing different on this day, that would be what Matt Sydal wanted to do different here. He did his best to kind of come back in the match, but there was no way you were going to get that knot out of the back of your head going forward.
That Spaceballs moment, where like the scene of everybody in the back at once of, oh no.
I hope someone was taping for BTE at that point, where they were just like, oh, we got Matt Sydal's debut, let's get it on camera here, and everyone just, oh.
That poor bastard, he was in the corner for 3 or 4 minutes, just collecting his thoughts and getting back his head and clattering up. And all the credit in the world to him for sticking with it and coming back, because I think someone a little more rookie tenure, less years under their belts, throws themselves over the top rope and just gawks to the back and this was an off day and we'll pretend this never fucking happened.
Yeah.
Find somebody else to be in the final 4 because I'm done. And so credit to him for sticking out and coming back. And by the end of it, he was fine.
Yeah.
But my God,
he was getting his timing down and everything else for sure. I don't want to lay into him too hard there, but man, the irony was just too sweet on poor Evan Bourne and Matt Sydal to not bring that up, where it was just like, oh, some things just sort of change over time, I guess, right? Timing is everything. But yeah, he did his best to kind of get back into things here, showing that like a little guy can take out bigger dudes in the match, which really worked. Eventually getting down to I believe he was in the final 4.
Pentagon was thrown out by Kaz at 11th. Then Kazarian was immediately taken out. Cage with an awesome slam on Spears and a neckbreaker on Willie. Eddie hit some Germans. That was nice. Then Darby Allin dumped out Ricky Starks for the 13th man gone. Cage with a big slam on Darby. Darby ran into the ring post. That's when they pulled out the body bag filled with the thumbtacks. That was a good spot.
Right. Yes, I forgot about the man. So much on this night.
Everyone was down and wrecked in the corner while Cage stuffs Darby into the body bag, throws him out over the top rope with a power bomb onto the stage in a body bag filled with thumbtacks because Darby Allin's insane. Why didn't they just set it on fire? I mean, that was lazy of them. So he was the 14th guy out. Sydal and Spears were on the apron. That was interesting bit. He takes out Spears with a nice kick there. Hobbs hit a spine buster on Sydal. The Murder Hawk now, he has a huge bouncing spear tackle thing, the pounce, whatever, into Hobbs. That was good.
Yeah.
Then we got Cage versus Archer. And this again, I loved it that they kept these guys apart until now. And now we had the slugfest with them.
Yeah.
Big punches section. The kicks start coming in. They both look like they're Muay Thai fighters or something. Really nice knee. Hurricane Rana from Cage. That looked nice.
Yeah. He looked really strong.
Hobbs suplex Cage onto the apron. And Archer manages to eliminate both of them. They're the 16 to 17 guys out. So our final 4 were Matt Sydal, Eddie Kingston, the Butcher out of nowhere, and the Murder Hawk.
Yeah, Eddie seemed to be keeping the Butcher in the corner, kind of rallying him to see, like, let's just see how things play out here, and maybe we can sort of edge our way into the final 4 here, and it seemed to work. They tried to sort of team up with Lance to sort of get the advantage on Matt Sydal. Lance wanted nothing of it as he punched Eddie Kingston square in the jaw, and the Big Butcher tried to do his best to get some offense in on Lance, but it just wasn't quite enough.
No, it was. I mean, it was a battle royal. It was it was good. Everybody got to do a spot. Most of them pulled it off, and I really liked it. We ended up with Lance Archer taking it down over Eddie Kingston as the final 2, which was, I thought, a nice, interesting pairing as well. It worked.
A little weird with Jake with the snake. I guess all of a sudden we've learned that Eddie Kingston is afraid of snakes. He's not afraid of a single man in the world, but he wants nothing to do with snakes. None of that was built up beforehand, but hey, you got to do Jake with the bag at some point. I don't think there was really a snake in there because no one ever saw anything. But
God forbid tell us that story on the last couple of weeks of TV. But whatever, we learned it tonight. You're right, and they've always had a guy scared by the snake. Andre was inexplicably.
It's one of the easiest kind of things to do, and it can come out of nowhere like that, and doesn't necessarily make Eddie look. Yeah.
Right. So.
No, with a little bit of that distraction and stuff from Jake, Lance was able to get the big win there over Eddie Kingston, and now he is the next #1 contender for the AEW World Title. And I think, this was great for Lance to get the win here and to elevate him, like we were saying, to that next place. After the Cody feud, he sort of was angry, obviously. You saw him beating up people in the back and all this kind of stuff, but with these sort of not as great promos from Jake, we weren't really sure where the Murder Hawk was kind of going. And now with that sort of place set for him, as soon as they're ready to pull that trigger, he's definitely elevated and ready for that main event point.
I mean, I'm going to assume that his world title shot will be the match, the main eventing of the Metal Gear or Full Gear,
Full Gear in November. Quite possibly, yeah. They could maybe do it on Dynamite, but I would imagine they would build to Full Gear.
And I guess my only thing right now on this is he's got to win the big belt, right? He can't have he won his way in to fight Cody, but lost the TNT shot. He wins his way for a world title shot. He can't lose this one as well. Of course he can.
Yeah, I think
I see it the one way. I'm interested, though, and definitely think this is going to be an interesting feud going forward. And if it stays with Moxley as the belt, great fight.
Anytime you can think that it can go either way, it's just going to make the feud that much better, regardless of, the expectations going in or how it will affect them coming out kind of thing. So we'll have to see what happens. I just noticed,
I think we're 45 minutes into the show, and we're less than halfway through the fucking card. So let's hit the gas pedal down for this match.
Oh, boy.
You're never going to get to Mom's birthday party.
I know. Geez, the editing on this may never happen. We'll see. I still got to get it repressed, too. Oh, my gosh. Don't listen to this, Bob. This next match isn't much to talk about other than the you hope that everybody is okay. This was the Broken Rules match between Sammy Guevara and Matt Hardy. Things kicked off with Matt looking for Sammy Guevara in the back area, where they've been having their feuds, that in between the Daly's place and the stadium kind of food eating area or whatever that is. It was Sammy Guevara this time with the golf cart, but I mean, we don't even really need to get to the blow-by-blows of this because it was that to a straight to a brawl. They went up into a skylift, tried to do a big spot where they did a spear into two tables. They happened to miss the two tables. They got a little bit of the second one, but Matt Hardy took a nasty bump onto his back. It seemed like his head, or at least his back of his shoulders, nailed the concrete, and he was motionless for a good 30 seconds. And I'm being generous at that point. It could have been longer. Hearing a lot after
Aubrey immediately
threw up the X's.
Aubrey immediately threw up the X.
Yeah. From what I'd heard, again, we're doing this Sunday, so I didn't know a lot of this last night. And again, in the moment, you're not sure. The X always usually means it's real. It's not part of the kayfabe. Now, the X has been used in kayfabe before, but more often than not, when the ref does that, it's the signal for the doctors that something serious has happened and that we're, something has to happen here in the match in the moment, right? Aubrey signaled for the doctor. They tried to stop things, maybe count Matt out. He tried to get up. They tried to do something. It seemed at that point, Aubrey and the doctors had called things off. From what you learned by the end of the night when Tony Khan did the post-fight or post-show kind of press conference stuff, it was him in Aubrey's ear asking her to throw the X up. He wanted the match to stop at that point. Doc Samson, I guess, had a bit of a conversation with Matt, and Matt was able to convince him, I guess, or he was able to feel okay enough for Matt to continue. At this point, people across the board pretty much feel uncomfortable with things continuing, but it did. They sort of scramble down the hallway. They climb up the lighting post pillar, obviously going to just the straight finish of this match, not doing any of the actual spots here. Matt clearly still looking concussed out of things, looking very unsafe, trying to climb up this rafter. You see Sammy do his best to try to save Matt, maybe even not even go as high as they had probably planned to. Takes just a simple little punch, falls backwards, and eventually gets counted out here. This match was maybe 5 minutes in total, but I mean, should have just been stopped as soon as he hit the ground.
Yeah, I was very confused because the way it played out started to blur the line between, well, was that an accident? Was that an X and a plan and a mistake and he's hurt? Because then once you had the feeling that Samson was talking to Hardy, they rang the bell. They stopped the match.
Yeah.
And then they didn't. And then you've got like commentary explaining that, well, no, he's okay and he's this. And Hardy looked like he was trying to do it. It looked like it could well have been part of the angle. And the second time she did the X was very much on camera and at the camera almost.
Yeah.
So that to me would, because the first time was practically off. She was out to the side. And I'm like, okay, he is badly hurt. And he's clearly missed the spot.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't rig the concrete. So, yeah, he must have been injured. So in that case, bad call to let him continue it, especially if you got the boss in your earpiece saying, no, it's over. Matt Hardy doesn't get to overrule this. And I get it from an athletic perspective on, no, the show must go on and I'm trained and I'm good.
Yeah,
and I know
it comes
I'm
down
all right.
to what happened, the decision from Doc Samson at that point. And I guess in the moment you're doing what you can to figure out what's going on. But again, he, in hindsight, definitely should have just called things. Here you err on the side of caution. They could have just called it, had this match a couple weeks later, and you move on, right? If this was the big spot that they needed to have, clearly it wasn't going to affect the timing of the evening. And just seemed unfortunate all around. You hope Matt is okay. They said that he was taken to a hospital. He was, you would assume, concussed, but they said he had passed most of the concussion testing on site, but they were still worried and wanted to take him to the hospital. I mean, the bump was pretty nasty. And
well, there's no way he's not got a concussion out of that. Absolutely no fucking way his brain did not get rattled in his skull.
Yeah, if he didn't like break a rib or something too, it was.
He may well have passed. You may well have passed post-concussion protocol tests on site. That's how many fingers am I holding up stuff? Like, but that's not an actual concussion test, I'm afraid.
No. So I think erring on the side of caution here is certainly better. You hope Matt all the best, and maybe they can kind of redo this later on. But yeah, not a great sort of showing here. And like I was saying, the kind of dips. And like I say, I enjoyed the Battle Royal too, but sometimes I found parts of it were just a bit clusterfucky with the shambling of it and that kind of thing, where because you came up such a well orchestrated tag match for something to be a little less not put together, but like, more free form, can kind of, the ebbs and flows, right? And then this big incident really kind of shifted my mood, especially. You were just kind of worried for Matt and the situation and everything else. You're like, I definitely need a palate cleanser at this point. And that's definitely what we got with this next matchup, because, man, this was one of my favorites. We got Thunder Rosa from the NWA and their women's champion taking on our women's champion, Hikaru Shida, here in AEW for her women's title. And, man, what a matchup these two had.
Great match. Yeah, it was built as a classic technical back and forth war, and they definitely lived up to the hype. I thought both girls performed excellently. Yeah, looked really good.
Yeah, no one really got
back and forth.
No one really got any distinct advantage at any point. They were very willing to work and sell for each other, as well as kind of get each other over. And the fact that they were both able to sort of had studied each other's movements and strategies and that kind of stuff, and had to sort of deal with the offense of one another, and it really led to a very successful match between the two of them.
A great first meeting too. You could definitely see a place where Shida pops up on an NWA show to challenge Thunder for her title down the road, which is the match Rosa will win. And then whether or not we ever see the trilogy doesn't really matter. Yeah. You don't want to see titles change hands in this format, right? You just want to see the best of the best taking on the best of the best. So, no, I really enjoyed it. They got nose to nose right off the bat. Big slap spot back and forth. Double leg takedown by Thunder Rosa. Triangle by Rosa. She hits a power bomb. Then there's an ankle lock. Shida gets to the ropes. It was just for every move, the other one had a counter or a way out of something. So you're exactly right. We never got anyone getting too far ahead of the other one. Some near falls back and forth, and some different looking submissions again, which I enjoyed. The hanging pendulum spot that Thunder Rosa put Shida into, and she's ramming her head into the turnbuckles.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a typical spot in Japan even, but it's something we see more in over there. See a little bit more of in Mexico.
It's definitely a lucha spot.
Yeah, we don't see that much in North America, and so when they're pulling out some of that stuff, and both girls are able to work it because they are both familiar with it,
Yeah.
It really works well, and it comes out extra strong.
No, I
The
find
stretch
these.
muffler stuff that she keeps trying to pull, like, I love that. We only see Daniel Bryan pull off some of these submission moves these days.
Yeah.
There's stuff that you saw a lot more of in the 80s. Even with abdominal stretches, seem to be making a real comeback here in AEW. So
yeah, some of the more classic stuff like cravat lock and those kind of things, the typical thing you see here. And I think Thunder Rosa, they showed it here in this match, but she does a great job of that combination of the lucha submission style with her MMA offense and that kind of stuff. Her knees and elbow strikes and chops were really well showcased here and showed that she was definitely a challenge for Hikaru Shida early on. She was not able to sort of keep up with the strikes. Hikaru was having to look for more strategic ways to get her offense in. Yeah, you can see the stretch muffler counter then by Hikaru showing, or by Thunder Rosa, just how good her submission game was, how much she was, just kind of looking to either work a limb or work her strikes was sort of her game plan going into this.
She'd hit the big jumping knee strike and then a nice suplex for a 2. Knee to the head for a 2. The Falcon Arrow got countered for a 2. JR said, that's the bottom line. What? JR? Rosa with some nice corner work, drop kicks hard, she'd onto the stage. Couldn't hit her Death Valley driver the first time she went for it. She'd puts Rose up on top. They end up onto the apron where she does hit the Death Valley driver now on the apron. Yeah. The hardest part of the ring. Did you know that, Eric? There's no padding there.
Only if you're listening to JR. Excalibur has explicitly told us it's the ring post. That's the hardest part of the ring. But yes, all that aside, a great sort of back and forth here, but Hikaru was finally able to get a little bit of momentum moving her direction. That Falcon Arrow near fall almost kind of got, or she hit the Falcon Arrow, but it was just the 1 count, which is a big surprise.
No, that was, that was the start of the no-sell brawl.
Yeah.
When they start slugging each other and neither one of them selling shit anymore, and she hit the Falcon Arrow on Rosa, barely a 1 count, and she kicks right out. Reverse slam, she got the 2 count on Shida. Then we had the stretch muffler that she got to the ropes on.
Yeah, she was finally able to get it back in there to sort of slow down Thunder Rosa a little bit enough to weaken her with a bit more strikes, get the running knee strike to eventually get the 1, 2, 3, and keep her title here in AEW. And man, what a competition here, because I thought there were certainly moments where it looked like Thunder Rosa could quite possibly, even like with how well the match was and how good the commentary got her over, how prestigious she already was as a double champion, now could be a triple champion. And like they certainly got that kind of thing could actually happen. But it was nice to see that Hikaru was able to get a big win over such a worthy opponent.
For sure. And another match where I really feel like, there's no loser here.
No.
Shida looks like $1 million. Thunder Rosa looked awesome. She lost to a champion.
Yeah.
There's no shame in losing to another champion.
Absolutely.
You are a champion. And they both came across like gold. So, absolutely loved it.
All right, well, the next little moment we had here was Kip Sabian in the back having a little interview with Alex Marvez, announcing that him and Penelope Ford, yes, they are engaged. They're going to have their wedding on Dynamite, and he is going to have a bachelor party. He's also going to debut a best man. I don't know if this is someone from the roster or a new person. He did mention that he was pretty handsome, and there's a certain pro wrestler that used to be in the WWE that is now going by a very handsome demeanor out there on his Twitch feed.
Yes.
Which was the other sort of tease here, as he had announced that he also held up a sign letting you know where to go to see him on Twitch, and this was also sponsored by or approved by the AEW.
Nice touch, right?
Yes.
Especially after what we've heard with Vince for the last few days and WWE banning everybody from social media stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought that was absolutely priceless.
No, I figured out of anybody, you would especially enjoy that nice little dig at the WWE here, so I wanted to make sure we mentioned that. But the next matchup as we roll on here was the Dark Order taking on the Nightmare Family with Scorpio Sky and Matt Cardona. The Dark Order members this time, it is their leader, Mr. Brody, with Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, and his sort of protege for the time being, Colt Cabana. An okay matchup, I think, overall, when you start looking at this whole card. This could have just been on Dynamite. You wanted to get everybody on the card, which is great. And you got everybody basically on the roster in here to some degree, and it would have maybe seemed to make the Battle Royal seem like too much of a clusterfuck to throw these guys in there too. So you had to come up with something for these other 8 guys to do. But yeah, in the long run, this felt like maybe it could have just been a Dynamite match if I had to criticize something on the card here for just how great and escalated everything else was. By the end, the story in this was basically just more of just Colt not really willing to participate with the Dark Order quite yet, and then that sort of being the comeuppance in the end. It was a weird sort of placement for Scorpio Sky as well as Matt Cardona. We've learned that he's not actually signed with AEW. He is just sort of doing some of these spots with them to sort of try to get a good showing. He obviously has a great relationship with Cody, and if he is able to get him into these sort of situations, but even afterwards on the post thing that where Tony Khan was saying that he's still just an independent contractor, not necessarily signed with them, and they're still not deciding whether to bring him on with a contract. And I'm not sure if this match was necessarily the best way to help showcase a new Matt Cardona. He just felt like Zack Ryder with a different name here. To me, how did you feel with this match?
No, I think I tend to agree. It was in the context of the whole show, it's a little long. I do think you wanted to get this story on the pay-per-view in some way, though, because it's supposed to be this very important title belt. We're not going to defend it on pay-per-view because it's the TNT Championship, but we want to keep that title and the champion in your face.
Yeah.
And the story is important and big. So I get why they wanted to. I look at it in the whole show again, and the company in a way like the NWA made me feel back in the 80s. TV was TV. A pay-per-view was a pay-per-view. And you weren't going to have angles, very, very brief promos, and every match is going to be at least 15 minutes.
Right.
Even the low guys on the card, get ready for a long night of wrestling was always the way. And so this match felt like a very old school NWA match in that style, where it went on 5 minutes at least longer than it needed to,
yeah, it was
particularly for the story you were telling. They also, along with the story we're telling, we want to make sure that all of these guys get their time to tell their story in the ring and have all their spots and all their action. Stu Grayson looked like $1 million here.
Oh, for sure.
Time to do all this shit. Cardona, I agree with you as well. I do think he just looks like a slightly better version of a Zack Ryder, given a little bit more time and a little bit more focus. But I'm not seeing much new different from him.
Compared to how different everybody else seems when they've come over.
Exactly, yeah. And maybe that is because it is his character. He is being himself. He was always being himself. We just didn't get to see a lot of him before, so that's maybe why it doesn't feel unique.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't want to downplay this match. Again, it just sort of, on the pay-per-view card, though, it just seemed like a Dynamite main event rather than a pay-per-view level story, because this story is so fresh and new right now that whereas everything else is sort of getting to not everything, but a majority of the other stuff is more getting to the later half of their stories or the end of them, whereas this is more the start of kind of few stuff, which doesn't feel great in the pay-per-view sense. That maybe or maybe it was the placement too. I don't know. There was something about it that just didn't quite hit.
You've got to have that cycle. You've got to have that cycle with the stories. They can't all be starting and finishing at the same time, because then the time comes to start everything. I've got nothing invested today, right?
Like I say, like overall, it did great to set up stuff like the how great Dustin looked going up against Brody and how pissed off he is against what happened to his brother Cody, obviously, to then set up that he's going to get a title match against him on Dynamite. I think that was well done. Again, the Colt Cabana stuff kind of moving forward as well, but that's what I mean, that to me you don't anticipate that stuff on a pay-per-view.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. I definitely felt that everybody was like, from the start of the match, we got Dustin up against Brody just dominating in the beginning, pulling typical Brody Lee stuff right now. He is the star. He looks great. He's throwing Dustin around big, tags out to Evil Uno so that Dustin and QT can get their offense in. Uno gets passed around like a bong, hit by everybody in the ring for about 5 minutes, and then he tags out to Stu Grayson. Dark Order and Colt start beating on QT in the corner. Colt is believing in himself. and he is now wearing the Dark Order colors.
Yeah.
So he has bought in to a degree. But as you said, later in the match, we get that as Brody hands out his hand demanding a tag from Colt, Colt thinks about it for a second. And he smiley face tags him in because I'm happy to do it, boss, after 6-7 seconds. Brody doesn't like that. I want instant compliance for what I tell you to do. So that immediately started sowing the seeds of, okay, he's in, but he's only 1 foot in, right?
There was
he's
just a little bit of
Bruno
hesitation, yeah. Whereas before they would sort of shield him from their heel tactics, keep him looking the other way. Now when they try to get him to participate, he just seems a little less willing, and then now they're just getting a little bit more pushy, right?
Yep.
But yeah, I don't want to take anything away from the match. I think they did a great job in the ring, especially Evil Uno and Stu Grayson getting a lot of great tag offense, and Stu himself looking just fantastic.
One thing that was
bullying over QT there.
One thing that was a little annoying to me though was Dustin Rhodes, the most veteran hand in the ring, is the guy making the rookie mistake of coming in to allow the referee to come over and allow the heels to do their heely stuff in the corner. He's not the one that should be doing that. That should have been Matt Cardona, as showing his inexperience and his emotions.
Yes.
So I get that they were selling the emotional side, and it's his brother for Dustin. But the man's 50-odd years old. He should know better by now, and he's wrestled for 40 of those years. So that was a little bit.
Put your emotions aside. You're still in a match here, and he kind of did his best to do that, but it was certainly getting the better of him, and showed that he was sort of tempers were certainly flaring here. I'm trying to think where we were blow by blow here, but
QT got a combo in on Stu Grayson. Evil Uno comes back in for the tag. Quick Low gets Colt back into the ring as QT tags Cardona in. So we had Matt Cardona versus Colt Cabana for the first time. As far as I know, I'm sure we've had this on independent scenes in the past. I can't believe it.
Cardona's only ever been in WWE, right? He had a little bit early on, but basically just training. And unless they wrestled when he was in, Colt was maybe in FTW at the same time that Matt was. So maybe in that era, when he was Scotty Goldman and that kind of stuff, they might have had a match in that zone, but never in the Indies because Matt's never wrestled the Indies.
I'm thinking I would thought in a church basement or in a high school gymnasium somewhere near somebody they met once or twice. But
quite possibly.
I loved it. I love seeing that interplay on television. The two of them. That is great to see those two up against each other, and they're good. Big backdrop onto Grayson as well, and a reboot onto Colt. Lee had to make a save on a late 2 count as well. So that was, again, Colt looking not weak, but like he had to be salvaged and saved because he'd taken himself a little bit too far.
They eventually weren't able to keep Matt Cardona down for too long. He got the hot tag to Dustin, came in with a huge kind of flurry, hit that big destroyer that he's become so known for now at this point. We get a bit of a square off between Scorpio Sky and Brody Lee before Scorpio's taken out, but then Matt Cardona makes a big comeback, hitting 2 different radio silences to I believe the Dark Order guys. And
on Uno first, and then Stu is the second one.
Right, yeah.
And then he hit a tope out onto the Dark Order on the outside. That looked pretty good, too.
Yeah.
And then it was the powerbomb. That was when Big Brody Lee powerbombs Matt Cardona and tags in Colt, almost like the first time he had him set up for it. The QT manages to tag in. He flies himself over the top rope onto the Dark Order as well. Doing a very good job tonight of making that stuff look natural, but at the same time, everybody was caught well. This match, they did it.
Yeah.
And again, the next one, I think, as well. There was a lot of spots like it, but they all looked good. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel too set up. And you didn't see anyone making this terrible misses and nobody catching the guy either, but falling over anyway. They were all on point. So
for sure. This is just that fine line that you can kind of teeter on here in wrestling, where it's not too sort of chaotic and just sort of planned out sort of chaos, which is much better go at here. But yeah, QT was the last sort of member from the Nightmare family, kind of in Scorpio Sky Matt Cardona team, standing here as Brody tossed him back in, hit that nasty huge lariat to really set him down. He looks at Colts, puts the hand out for the tag, lays him up for a solid win finish. Colt sees him laying there and decides he wants to get this win on his own terms and to go up for his big moonsault, which is his comeuppance because he misses the moonsault. The team is obviously upset with him and all a little disheveled and all over the place as he is caught with a roll-up from Dustin for the 1-2-3. Again, I think that obviously the story, again, moving forward, that makes sense and that kind of thing. It did seem a little weird that in this blood feud, I want to wreck these guys, all this kind of stuff, that Dustin just got a way out, that, oh, at least I got my win. I'll see you later. I'll fight you another day. I felt like a roll-up win at that point, especially from Dustin, seemed a little – it was smart because he was obviously the veteran and knew the timing and, like, I'll get the win here or whatever. But to a big blood feud, sometimes you want something a little bit more elevated. But I guess not bad at all. And obviously is telling the story that Mr. Brody was not upset with Colt Cabana not doing what he was told.
Very upset, right? That was a great finish. Colt looking somewhat embarrassed and downtrodden and downfallen that his new friends were all yelling at him and he disappointed them. He knew it was on him. He took the loss. He didn't have to go for the moonsault. I really enjoyed Evil Uno sticking around in the ring to console him out. So I think there was a brief moment of thinking Uno was going to smash him in the back of the head as the final comeuppance, but he didn't. It was a heartwarming, like, hey, man, I've been here as well, where he yells at me. Don't worry about it. It's just indoctrinating him that much more, right? It's real cult stuff. So a cult with Colt. And I thought it was, very enjoyable. I quite like the match. I do think it was the placement and stuff long. The whole show was long. But I like the matchup itself. And I like the way that they've given the win back to the Nightmare guys. It keeps it going. I do not think Dustin has a snowball's chance in hell of beating Brody for the TNT title on Wednesday, but I love that that's where a match now you can make and go out of it. And that should be an entertaining match. Like, if anyone can help Brody elevate again, it's Dustin. He's Dustin's been a natural since he's like 18 years old. He's been an excellent wrestler. So
seeing those two sides up in the ring, just you're already like, okay, I want to see this match. I think these two could put on something pretty fantastic. So looking forward.
And he had a nice little promo
on Dynamite. Yeah, and he
had
a
nice
great
little promo
after
after the match.
We're very hyped up and ready to call out Mr. Brody, upset about what happened to Cody, and they're going to get a matchup on Dynamite for the TNT title this week. So, yeah, I think great to see where that story is going, and a nice sort of next step for Mr. Brody. I was wasn't sure if it was going to be that direction or if they were going to kind of cool off the Cody stuff to ignite it when he's ready to come back and now have the time to pull the trigger on the Colt story, because the story either is he's joining or he's not, right? Going into this, like, he still hadn't quite dipped that other foot. And now with this sort of coming out of it, you do kind of have two stories. You could have the Dustin thing happen now and then the Colt thing happen later, or, there's some seeds planted there. So I wasn't sure where things were going, but excited to see what the future holds.
I think my personal prediction is we see Colt go full Dark Order on Wednesday night, where he cripples Dustin as the finish to make sure that there's no mistake tonight, and I'm 100% on board. I think the only other way they go is he screws something up and Dustin ends up with the belt. I don't want to see that happen. That's way too soon.
No, but I think if he eventually just decides not to, and it sets up a good feud between him, like Colt and Brody, which I'm
down the line.
See. Yeah,
for sure. Down the line, that's definitely where it's got to go. But it's like Jim Cornette says, I don't care about a relationship breaking up if it's only been going for 3 weeks. You got to keep me that relationship so I'm invested in it. Exactly, and they got to stay together for a good year and be much tighter than this before I care about their explosion. So,
well, hey, look at you with your segues as we get into our next matchup. You're talking about friends and their breakups and things getting tensions escalating as we get to the next of our title defenses as Hangman Page and Kenny Omega defend their tag titles against the FTR in a solid half-hour match, but
the true main event.
A lot of story.
The true main event of the evening, I think.
I think the main event still did a great job for elevating the title and for two other people, but this just goes to show how well this story is being told and why it would feel very much like the main event and the true sort of main event here, because it was not even in that sense too, because you'd feel like the next match was the perfect sort of end of a big feud. You don't see them fighting anymore after this, whereas this story is still going to keep momentum and going and everything. So this seemed like the kind of best place for it. But yes, very much main event caliber, and wow, hard to take notes. I still have lots written down, but it was a hell of a matchup here.
Even the hype video is fucking hot. That's my first note on this one.
They've done a really good job with those hype videos lately.
The end of the video package where the Bucks said Page is going to get what's coming to him, really left me wondering if they were going to be involved in the finish somehow. Would they end up screwing Omega as a casualty of war? Because we've got to screw Hangman because he screwed us. We got to make sure he gets what's coming to him. Yeah. And not where they went, but again, it's that way that they subvert expectation supply you with 5 different potential expectations.
Yes.
It's fantastic. I like that's choose your own adventure times 10, man. These guys do it better than it's been done in years and years and years. And this story in particular, just fucking chef's kiss. So, yeah. Great big Kenny entrance. Loved the Brainbusters inspired outfits that Dash and Cax are in now. Dash and Cax. I've got to stop. Cash and Dax. Fuck me. And I cannot remember the last time I was so hyped for a match.
Yeah, no, I think, geez, so hard to think of even where to start with this one because it just did such a great job.
Kenny and Cash started it off.
Yeah, I guess I want to make sure I give it some justice. You think that, like, going in, because Hangman had such trepidation and was so hurt by the whole situation, it was maybe going to be a little bit for him to want to get in there against the FTR. But again, they subvert those expectations. Kenny wants to start things off, but Hangman is instantly putting the hand out. They have a little bit of a back and forth saying, you can trust me, let me get in there. I'm ready to really put it to these guys. You get a little bit of a lockup from Hangman and Cash to start. He extends the hand, and that was basically the trigger point for Hangman. He'd had enough of the FTR, and he was just all brawling punches after this.
He had him out in the corner, right? They got Cash backs him into the corner and gives him the clean break. And goes, like you said, go for the handshake. Page has none of that shit. Nearly decks Kenny while he's busy cleaning house with everybody.
Yep.
FTR hit with a nice side swipe, though, and come under to get some big boots. Kenny gets tagged in for the first time for real. Gets some chops in. Nice back slap spot, too, on Cash at that one. And Page comes in for a double chop off of a tag. Suplex into a 1 count. Head into the corner, and Kenny is quick tagged back in. And you get the impression right away that Page and Omega want to rely on this quick tag movement, and they want to cut off the ring. They want to keep FTR on their side and stop them from making the tag out. You knew that wasn't going to last long.
Yeah, but as much as they are singles wrestlers, they've learned since January how to work as a team and to get their best sort of offense here, and they were doing that early on, getting on the same page, getting an early rhythm, and really kind of taking FTR out of their game plan early on. And did what they could to sort of shut down FTR. Eventually, them getting the momentum back as Kenny was causing a little bit of a distraction on the outside from the ref, as they were able to really utilize those kind of moments that when the ref was distracted, they got Hangman tossed into the turnbuckle, eventually into the ring post where they were stretching him out. Kenny tried to break them off, but this certainly started leaning into where FTR were going to start focusing their attacks, which was on Hangman's body.
Yeah, they were nailing him ribs and chest area for the first little bit, and then the attack switched to, was it the arm that they were going on Kenny, or his leg? I've got this further down.
That was later on. They were working Hangman's body early on to try to get a little bit more offense in there. He eventually got the hot tag to Kenny. Kenny ran the two of them kind of out of the ring. Got that really, really nice.
The Polish hammer spot.
Yeah, the Polish hammers. He was just terrorizing the two of them back and forth, hit the you can't escape kind of roll, knee into the corner, got both of them outside for the Rise of the Terminator dive. Really, really looking like some old school strong Kenny here.
There's a missile drop on Cash for a 2 count.
Yep.
Hits a gut wrench. Kenny ends up in the corner. Cash hit him with something, and then Dax came in with the German suplex for a 2, and it was a long 2 count, though. It was like a referee hesitating, like, you're supposed to kick out here. Thank God you did. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty darn close. They had countered the V trigger, and that was when they start working the knee. Kenny was really trying to get his aggressive offense in there. He hit the knee into the turnbuckle as Cash was able to move, and then they Dash got the reverse figure 4. Really trying to pound out Kenny's knee, which ended up being a bigger story moment later on in the fight. But kind of using the blind tag confusion to sort of keep Hangman and Kenny not being able to get their rhythm back at this point, hitting some really nice kind of reverse bulldogs, the one on the outside and then the one on the inside. I think Hangman eventually got a big comeback here. Again, a lot of back and forth at this point. A blockbuster from the top rope from Hangman, which I think led to what you thought was going to be the momentum shift for Hangman and Kenny, kind of getting the FTR to kind of separate from each other. They went for okay. Well, I guess they went for the last call, or they start kind of calling for it, trying to set him up. He kind of missed that. Ends up hitting Hangman with the V trigger, which really took Hangman out of this matchup at that point. Hit him with a few more kind of chop blocks, moving things along, getting Kenny kind of out of the ring, really, really showing that his leg had taken a beating at this point. They get Hangman back in the ring, set him up for a Mindbreaker, which is their assisted pile driver from the top rope. Hangman able to kick out, though, which was crazy.
That was the
really
first. Sorry, Miss McLeod had picked up. That was the first near fall that I thought was the end of the match for real.
Yeah.
Where I'm like out of my seat. Like, oh, what the fuck? How did he kick out of that? Like, because Kenny couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, and it seemed like that was the story there, which seemed a little confusing when they did it twice. I get that it kind of puts Hangman over, like looking so strong and getting that big kick out, and if that was the story, but the fact that they just repeated it and it was so like the same thing felt a little bit like they were just repeating the spot, like something maybe didn't go right with the kick out or the finish or something. But I don't know. To me, it seemed a little off at the end.
I thought that was the plan. It was just the extra false finish.
Right.
They got kicked out of this one. We got to hit him with it one more time. It was a theme that ran through the evening of like.
I think it was the fact that I understood that part of the story. But it was the fact that Kenny tried to stop that first pin, couldn't, but Hangman was able to kick out, and then was still just kind of stuck there with the leg. The fact that the leg took two spots was just he was just sort of left waiting. I felt that he just didn't have something to do for that moment where he could have been trying to stop the guy from the top rope or shaking the ropes, doing something to help his partner there, right? So that felt a little bit off, but all in all, man, a solid matchup.
It was a constant back and forth of hot tag, keep the guy away from his partner, injure this spot, look for this move. Hangman constantly looking like needed to validate himself to the rest of the crew, to himself. Kenny wanted the win. It was the more aggressive Omega that we've seen lately, but yeah, they just couldn't get it done. And the end of the match, by the end of the night, FTR were too strong for him and too good as a tag team and as a unit together. So
yeah, for sure. I didn't mean to sort of step on the finish there, but yeah, it was. They eventually got the second Mindbreaker. Kenny's leg just not able to get him on his feet to get in to break this finish up, and they were able to put Hangman away and win and become the new tag team champions in AEW. But yeah, what a back and forth matchup, really getting the FTR over strong. But their sort of title win here was certainly celebrated by the beers and everything from Tully. They put a beer down for poor Hangman as he was laying there in the ring. And the story seemed to more so continue between Hangman and Kenny, though, at this point.
Yeah, as Hangman tries to wobble across the ring and stagger over and fall into Kenny's arms, and Kenny just turns and lets him fall face first into the mat instead.
Yeah.
Omega leaves up the heel hole, and the Bucks were waiting for him on the other side of it too, where Kenny then has to go, I'm leaving right away. I've had enough of this. You boys coming with me? And they didn't leave with him. I thought they were going to jump in the limo with him, and they didn't. But they looked like they wanted to, right?
Well,
so, yeah,
it seemed like one maybe wanted to, and the other one wanted to talk, and there was a lot of sort of back and forth. I thought I need to clean things up. I need a clean break. You know, Kenny's just sort of he's clearly had enough at this point. He had teased a little bit of, you thought he was going to hit Hangman. He had a table with him, a small little side table. He threw that away. You thought maybe he had better judgment, but instead of attacking him, he also decided to not save him. When Hangman went to find some support from his tag team partner, he let him just fall, collapse in the ring, and he walked away, left him there, and we will see what happens as this story kind of continues. But certainly, man, wow, what new sort of elevated levels. Again, this wasn't the official sort of next stage, but again, the seeds planted for what happens next.
For sure, the intrigue is there with these guys. I thought we only had the main event to go at this point, but I was wrong because I'd forgotten about the Mimosa Mayhem match. So despite the fact that we had now passed 11 o'clock and I was wondering when they were going to get cut off of the air, this match began. I thought it was going to be really quick. Or I guess it was 10 to 11 at this point, maybe, or 5 to 11. It was late. We were running late now. My only complaint with this in the promo leading up was Jericho putting over Orange so strong. I thought he could have put him over just as strong if he'd gone through that opening of this was actually an experiment to see if I could elevate him to the main event. He should have said it was a failed experiment. He should be like, we failed. We couldn't. I tried, right? But no one can make this dick a main event star. He should have, because he's the heel, and we do see Orange is elevated at this point. So I didn't need Jericho to convince me that, in reality, out of kayfabe, I was right again because I'm Jericho and I'm super smart. I don't know. That's minor gripe, but that was, I wish I'd like to have seen that go instead. I love the set.
No, I think the pool setup was great. And then I think the biggest sort of hindrance to this was what we discussed from the get-go, the fact that they had said it had more than one stipulation. A stipulation match, like we agreed on weeks back when we talked about this, should just have the one stipulation. That should be your one way to win, and that's the one thing you can focus all your spots on and tell a very cohesive, smaller story. But by adding the pinfalls and submissions, it just had a different level to the matchup that didn't necessarily have to be there. You knew with these pools of stuff outside, someone was going in them. You weren't going to set all this stuff up for someone not to go in it. And to just have the other stuff just felt like time fillers where you're like, I don't want to see a pinfall. I don't want to see a submission. I don't want to see them going for it when they should just be worried about the pools. And you could be just doing more spots with that. But I think they still did what they could to put on a fun matchup between the two of them. Again, we're not really leaning into the comedy side of Orange here. It's more just how Jericho's pissed him off so much that he's had to take him serious. And that is end up what you got here from the two of them. He tried to come out hot against or put his hands in his pockets and do his sort of casual thing at the start. Jericho hitting him with a huge code breaker, though, right off the bat to sort of shift the momentum into his direction. And then Orange seemed to just be selling for Jericho for quite a bit of time. The few of the edge of the pool spots put him through the table, which looked really nasty, smashing his head with the tray for the drinks and stuff like that. So they did what they could with the weapons and the sort of stuff around the set to utilize that.
Well, some of the, like as you're saying there with the silly stipulation additions of being able to do, starts playing in right away with the code breaker and the 2 count. But then again, it plays into a bit when they were on the platform and Cassidy has him in his arms and he threw him off the stage.
Yeah.
Well, you've got him. You've got control. You're on the platform. There's a drink. Drop him in. It's over.
Yeah.
So I think things like this, I can see it working because the set was intriguing.
Yeah.
I think they've just got to fine tune it a little bit and you work out some of those spots that look silly. Jericho did the same thing later on where he had Orange up in a powerbomb. He has full control. He had him over the pool.
Yeah.
And he turned around and slammed him through a table instead. Like, well, great. And it looked cool, but you should have just won the match. There's no reason for you not to. And that's your goal. Yeah. You're a wrestler. I know it's fake, but we want to pretend it's not, right? So, yeah, little gripeys. But it was what it was. I think it went a little long. Again, I thought they didn't need as much time, much like the first meeting of these two. To get to where we want to get to with this, right? Yeah. We know our end destination is we're just elevating Orange. That's our goal here. He got to do his moves. He got to do his spots. He gets the win. Do that as quick as possible. He'll look better than the long drag out affair. This is again where I pull it back to that NWA comparison.
Yeah.
Felt like a Steiner Brothers versus Doom match. It could have gone 8 minutes and instead ran for 20.
Right.
Good.
I was gonna say it was only 12 minutes, but felt like a little long. Maybe you could have like shortened things a little bit. And I think just by adding the attempts at pinfalls, the long hold in the walls of Jericho spot, those just kind of elongate the match. Shows that Orange, can withstand the offense, but I don't think in the long run gets over what all you're trying to do is just get Orange over. If Jericho had just come into this match, been the cocky heel, got a bunch of really big offense, and then started hot dogging on the corner, boasting to the crowd, being like, sing my song, do all this kind of stuff. And then that got him to come up and said he gets hit with the big orange juice punch and gets knocked into the vat of orange juice. You're hoisted by your own petard at that point and get your comeuppance, and it's told a little bit more fluid. But I mean, I also see in AEW sense that it's Chris Jericho. You don't want to necessarily throw him in a 5-minute match. He's one of your biggest and highest paid stars. Getting him out there for more than 10 minutes isn't a bad idea, especially on a pay-per-view. So, a little bit of in between, but did their best to elevate Orange here. But obviously that was the big end. He hit him with the orange punch in the center of the ring after being kind of caught in the walls of Jericho, after taking the table spots and stuff like that. Hit him with a really, really nice running penalty kick, as it seemed like the momentum was shifting in Orange's direction. The tilt-a-whirl DDT.
There's another long 2 count on that.
Yeah.
A real suspended 2 into the 3. It was great.
Oh, boy, yes. Trying to keep things nice and close. And then he had countered it. He went for the code breaker again, was able to counter over top that, eventually getting the brawl to sort of end up on the top rope, hitting Jericho. He sort of did the, am I gonna fall moment, and then eventually, one last orange punch, takes a huge dive into the pool, and Jericho took it perfect. And you can tell how experienced he is with like how he knew he needed to have that great visual. He hit, and then he instantly put his arms out and like started trying to float, so you just had that great visual of him like floating on top of the pool, not sort of splashing around and not being able to see him. This was a great had a lot of great replay value for when they want to show this again in highlights and stuff like that. So real sort of a veteran stylings from Jericho, getting Orange over in that sense. But again, maybe little things they could have done to have this be a little bit more of a fluid, concrete story, because I think in the end, yes, you elevate Orange to a huge level by being one of the few people to get a win, now 2 wins over Chris Jericho, which is huge, which if it was anybody else, the next step to them would be world title, because where else would you put them? With Orange, I think this elevates him massively in a lot of eyes, and new eyes especially, but I think it also is sort of one of those what happens next, right? So we'll have to just sort of wait and see.
For sure. It leaves him in a stronger spot than he was coming into the feud, and I think that's always the purpose for both guys going in and out. So but you're right. I don't really know what his direction will be next, but he's a bigger name than he was at the beginning 14 weeks ago. So good, right? Win.
Absolutely.
The only other thing I would say is I thought from the start of the match, Jericho's face turn is coming. They're not going to get the crowd singing Judas like that forever, right? They are. So he's so hot right now. He's got so much momentum. He is so fucking popular. You could almost see it in his face. He was loving the fact that we've only got a few hundred people here, but they are all on fire right now. And we've been running. We're done our show. We've done it.
Yeah.
They should be unconscious and tired in their seats. So that was. I think that's where we're headed here, because he's so hot. And they can't sit on that forever, sleep on it forever. Plus, what's he going to do now? He's done all his Healy shit now, right? The Inner Circle's pretty much run its course. He's not winning the title back. So,
No, I think it's going to be that moving into the next place for both these guys. I'm excited to see what that next place is. But, hey, let's try and keep this thing under 2 hours as we get to our main event. I don't know if that's going to be the case.
Keep the pay-per-view under 4 hours then.
Fair enough, or maybe we'll just do rapid blow next time to keep things a little more fast-paced here. But anyway, we're main event with Jon Moxley defending his AEW World Championship against Maxwell Jacob Freeman, MJF, in the matchup where the paradigm shift has been banned. This seemed to be kind of the matchup I predicted, especially when it came to the end, but absolutely
you nailed it.
elevated MJF to a great level, and a fun matchup between him and Moxley. I think the build started pretty hot, kind of maybe teetered a little bit, but had more build than the cage match, more build than the Brody match. So was definitely the best next step for Moxley's kind of title contention here. And I thought they had a great kind of storytelling back and forth here.
Oh, for sure. If they've got one complaint with Moxley with any of these feuds he's been in, is we're not letting him stick around with one opponent for consecutive pay-per-views. I like that on the one hand, that we're not getting matches repeated, boring. We're not going to get Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin in AEW, right, every week for 6 months. On the other hand, on the other side of that, though, we have to quickly move him into his next storyline, quickly build another opponent up, quickly have them have a problem, and then quickly end it at the pay-per-view. Yeah. So that's where I feel we didn't feel like we had an awful lot of build with him and Cage. Didn't feel like all of the buildy stuff feels a little bit rushed. By necessity it is. But they made up for it, I think, more than made up for it with the match. The story that we've been told and sold for the last few weeks is, I'm the wrestler, I'm MJF, I know how to do it in the ring. Your world, John, is take me to the outside and violence and blood and crazy shit that isn't wrestling. I want to do it. And that was what we were told last night. It was the story as it played out. MJF in the ring as a general. His chain wrestling, his mat stuff, his counters, reversals, all of that shit was perfect. Moxley having frustrating time trying to deal with that, and then getting frustrated that he couldn't keep him on the outside when he would get him out there. And then play into the part that, well, he is our world champion. He's no slouch in the ring either. And Moxley able to deliver the goods in there too. That you absolutely nailed the finish.
Yeah, I think the more you got thinking about the banning of the paradigm shift, and again, when we think about what got me there was the discussion of the full story. What ends this? Where do you go from here? Not only with Moxley, but with MJF and Wardlow. Their story has been trying to be told in this sense. And by having Wardlow out there, it definitely seemed to be leaning more in the way I thought this was going to end up going. And it did. He seemed to be helping as best he could early on for distractions to allow MJF to get the offense in on the arm, which was definitely the huger part of the story here for MJF. Once he saw that injury, like a shark sensing blood in the water, he was all over the arm of Moxley there, definitely trying to set up for the salt of the earth submission cross arm breaker that he likes to do. So that was a nice kind of setup there, and just enough kind of Wardlow early on. He had a presence outside. Moxley would be a little bit distracted, but also not kind of give a shit either, willing to just sort of walk past him and be like, hey, you hit me, it's going to cost your boy, right? So he was not causing too much, but just enough to sort of lean in for MJF to get some extra offense in. Some kind of rough spots from the two of them. Eventually turning it around for MJF, throwing him into the ring post, which I think is when MJF bladed.
Yes, that was, the part when Mox rolled back into the ring, and then all of a sudden we got an absolute fucking crimson mask from Maxwell.
Yes, this was I don't know if it was just real from the post, but you would imagine a really nice blade job for how just kind of perfect the blood seemed to run and everything. It was a great sort of stream, not too much, but just enough to sort of show that other side here. And then Moxley tried to use this as his advantage, obviously being upset and locked in the matchup, going with instinct, attempting the paradigm shift, the ref sort of waving him off, reminding him that remember the stipulations here, thinks better and throws him in for an X-Plex instead, which I think he hits fantastic. Got him back to the outside. One of my favorite spots in this, when he hits that amazing black hole slam on the outside. Oh, that was fantastic. And what a great tribute to Abyss, which even Excalibur tried to get over a little bit, where he was like, oh man, he hit him into like an empty hole or something.
I didn't write, I couldn't get the exact quote on what he said it, but it was very the homage was paid by not just Mox, but by Excalibur as well.
I like that.
Rolls MJF into the ring, gets him in an arm lock, nails him with the Gotch pile driver on his second try because he manages to fight through the pain on the arm, but he can only get a 2. Then he starts biting on the cut that MJF had opened up. That was disgusting. What pandemic? I love the taste of blood.
And just
Don't worry about that. Coronavirus, I'm not scared of AIDS. Nothing worries Moxley. MJF starts biting the hand to stop John from giving him a superplex off the rope. Leaps down onto his arm on the apron, on the top rope. That was great. Gets back on the arm lock, and then they get into a slugfest. MJF hits a nice jerk, gets into a German suplex, a lariat after that for 2 count, which was beauty. John starts moxing up, so MJF spits in his face. Disgusting. What a fucking heel. Goes for the paradigm shift, but oh, no. Maxwell chains it into the salt of the earth, slaps on the Fujiwara armbar, one of the most underrated, devastating, best moves in pro wrestling. Grapevines the other arm. Moxley manages to get to the ropes, though. Gets onto the apron, pulls his arm onto the ropes, gets a heat seeker for 2.
Yeah, that was a real close near fall, and you tell MJF really sold that one too. He was like excited to get him, or like he saw the moment there to catch him with it, pulled it off, and then pretty shocked that it wasn't enough to keep him away. Big air raid crash from John Moxley after that to kind of get the momentum back.
Went for the second heat seeker, but no. Air raid crash instead. And we're right back to square one, except now they're on their knees in a slugfest.
Yeah, starts with elbows, then punches, then slaps, then headbutts, and it's just back and forth.
That looked great. The intensity on both of their faces, but MJF is
just MJF trying to be in it and trying to show that he's willing to fight, and then Moxley just loving every second of it, just willing to just give it back even harder and absorb every punch as well. Eventually, this starts MJF kind of seeing that he may need a little bit more, sort of heel tactics to get him a win here. Starts interfering or bringing the ref in for more interference. Uses it to poke the eyes at first, and then eventually get a low blow, which you think is maybe going to cause more of a momentum shift for MJF. He hits the crossroads for another really close count.
I thought you were going to say that mule kick was going to become our new opening video.
It very well could. I'll have to find that one, and I'll have to get some new videos made up of that. That might be the new clip of it. I always like to get a nice classic low blow for our intro videos. It
was a 2 3/4 count after the crossroads for sure. That was another moment where I thought we might be getting the change. Probably not because of timing, but it was a great spot because it felt real. And then we got the ring toss spot.
Yeah.
This is where you wrote this, or they stole what you said.
Pretty much exactly what I had said, which I think was it's predictable when you think about, again, you're just trying to end the story. You ban the paradigm shift in the sense that is what MJF is focusing on in this match the whole time, making sure he can't be hit by it, and Moxley going for it, but then not being able to. MJF eventually using the ref tactics there, and then it just made sense that behind the ref's back, why wouldn't John Moxley go for the paradigm shift? MJF deserves it. He's the one who had it banned. No real reasons for it here, and it helps further the story for MJF. It doesn't make him look weak at all in loss because he just kind of looks outsmarted, and he can blame it on Wardlow, which again becomes more of the story here. Wardlow tried to toss the AEW ring in for MJF. He happened to miss the catch, scrambled on the ground to catch it. Moxley happened to be right in front of him, notices the ref is distracted by Wardlow, hits a nasty spike paradigm shift, gets the 1-2-3, and regains his title. Solid 23-minute match from these two, really got MJF over, and even in a loss here, he has every reason to not only blame John Moxley for cheating because he broke the rules that they set up for this match, he also has every reason to blame Wardlow for making him suffer his first loss. So I think fantastic storytelling all around for helping both guys move on to the next level.
It was a night full of one of my favorite things to do in pro wrestling because, again, as we know, it's not real. Real winners and losers, to me, isn't the 3 count. It's not the winner of the match. It's who came across right, who used the work properly. This was a night full of no losers. Yep. Everybody came out with a rub. Fantastic show. Really long WrestleMania. I mean, all out. But didn't feel like WrestleMania in where I feel like I've sat through an 8-hour show that was only 4 hours. I started to feel a little tired through the Mimosa Mayhem match. but I knew I still had that big main event coming that I was looking forward to, so I wasn't falling asleep tired. I knew I'd been in for a long night of wrestling at that point.
Yeah.
Great show though, really well presented, really well done by everybody, and yeah, looking forward to Wednesday again, and looking forward to the next pay-per-view now in November.
Yeah, they had also announced early on, or right before the main event, that Full Gear will be November 7th, I believe, if I remember correctly.
7th or 8th, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so yeah, the train just keeps moving here in AEW, and happy to see where the next destination is for a lot of these stories. And the world champ obviously was flipping off Lance Archer on the outside, so you know that feud is coming sooner rather than later, more than likely. We'll see where MJF ends up here, as well as Cassidy, Chris, and Hangman Kenny, the Bucks, everybody else here in AEW. So plenty of stories to be told, and we will cover them here on Low Blow Radio Podcast. But Chris, I think that's about it for our blow-by-blow of All Out. Do you have anything else to say about the show?
No, this marathon has finally run its course. Happy birthday, Heather.
Yes, well, happy birthday. If you got to get your little shout out here. And Chris, let everyone know where they can hear us.
You can listen to us live on the river, 88.7 FM, if you're fortuitous enough to live in Ontario, Canada. If you're not that lucky, you can catch it online, 887theriver.ca. Check under the archives folder if you're not listening at 7 p.m. on a Wednesday. Or you can catch the audio version of this, if you don't like my lighting setup or my beautiful face, on Sounder, and it broadcasts out to lots of other podcast things.
Perfect. And yes, if you're here on YouTube enjoying our beautiful faces and our wonderful smiles, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Get into the comments. Let us know if you enjoyed these episodes. And we'll be back for another Low Blow Radio podcast, more than likely for Dynamite this week on Wednesday. So we will see you all then.
Adios, amigos.
Now